Georgia's election runoff ramping up by the day. Welcome to Faith Nation. I'm John Jessup.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Tara Mergener. Thank you so much for joining us. Well, all eyes are on Georgia, where the stakes are high. Two runoff elections on January 5th will not only decide who will represent the state, but also which party controls the Senate.
That's right, Tara. So why are some voters threatening to boycott the election? And why are some saying that's the worst thing they could do? CBN's Eric Phillips is in Atlanta.
President Trump will be here in Georgia Saturday, urging Republicans to elect David Perdue and Kelly Loeffler. Some Trump supporters, however, are threatening to boycott the polls because they don't trust the process, based largely on the president's own claims of fraud during his bid for re-election.
There are those who are exploiting the emotions of many Trump supporters with fantastic claims, half-truths, misinformation, and frankly, they are misleading the president as well, apparently.
Despite criticism and threats, Georgia Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger, a staunch Republican and Trump supporter, stood by the state's general election results. He is now sounding the alarm about what he says is happening prior to next month's Senate runoff between two Republican incumbents and two Democratic challengers.
That is why I'm announcing an investigation into third-party groups working to register people in other states to vote here in Georgia.
Raffensperger says some groups are sending absentee ballot applications to people who haven't lived in Georgia in 25 years. Others encouraging college students to register in Georgia, then change their residency after the election is over. That, combined with lingering theories of compromised election security and voter fraud in the general election, has led some Republicans to call for an election boycott. Ralph Reed, chairman of the Atlanta-based Faith and Freedom Coalition, says that is the exact opposite of what needs to happen.
That would be giving the other side control of the country by default, and that's checking out of the process, and that's not consistent with my understanding of Christian citizenship.
His organization is helping to recruit about 300 poll watchers and workers for the runoff.
It's the way to make sure that this election isn't stolen. The way to ensure election integrity is not to walk away from the election. It's to volunteer and apply to be a poll worker so that you're the one checking the signatures on the absentee ballots.
He and others realize voter turnout is the key to success. Still, the issue of voter confidence will have to be tackled. And according to Susie Voiles, who has been an election manager for 20 years, that's a challenge.
I'd say it's rather a mixed bag, but I'd say it's on the low side. And because I've done this for such a long time, so many people are saying, is it worth my voting? And I don't know, and I've never experienced that.
RNC chairperson Ronna McDaniel was here in Marietta, Georgia last weekend, telling a rowdy crowd to not lose faith in the election process and to make sure they vote in the January 5th runoff election and encourage their friends and family to do the same. John.
Great reporting there on the ground, Eric. Eric, what can you tell us about what Georgia election officials are doing differently this time around to boost voter confidence?
Well, there are some safeguards in place. A couple of them I can tell you about is the tabulation machines. The Dominion voting tabulation machines will be tabulated the day before and the day after elections going forward. And that'll happen in front of a bipartisan group. The idea is to make sure that those voting machines are operating at premium level so there's little to no question about whether or not they are properly recording the vote. Also, as far as the absentee ballots are concerned, you're going to have poll workers, not Dominion machines, not Dominion employees, but poll workers who have been trained by the state to eyeball absentee ballots that are coming in to verify signatures. And again, by having that bipartisan involvement, people who are actually trained to do that job, officials are hoping that that will help reduce this idea of any impropriety where the election is concerned. I should also mention, John, though, that the Republicans especially, and Democrats as well, are making sure that they send people of their own to go get trained to be poll workers and watchers so that they themselves can eyeball those ballots and to make sure that their voter confidence can be as high as possible in the upcoming elections. And I'm not just talking about the January 5th election, but also elections to follow.
A lot being responsive there. Eric, a lot is happening this weekend. President Trump is traveling to Georgia to campaign for the 2 Senate Republicans. And also this weekend, there is a CNN televised debate between incumbent Republican Kelly Loeffler and her Democratic challenger, Pastor Raphael Warnock. How might this weekend change the shape of the race?
I think what you're going to see is a lot of people coming out to rally on both sides, as we're already seeing right now. I can tell you that here in Georgia, there is certainly just a very tense sense of anticipation where this election is concerned. So when you have the President of the United States coming to town for the express purpose of getting people to come out and vote for David Perdue and Kelly Loeffler, followed by a debate between Raphael Warnock and Kelly Loeffler, what you've got is a recipe for excitement, a recipe for tension, and a recipe for both sides to try to do their very best to get out that vote and encourage people to participate in this election process. I interviewed Ralph Reed a little bit earlier this week, and one thing that he said to me was very striking, I thought. He said that this is not an election of persuasion. This is an election of participation. So what it boils down to, basically, John, is which side can get the most people out to vote, which side can get the most people out to the polls. And so I think what you're going to see this coming weekend is a galvanization on both sides to get that vote out. And that could be on January 5th itself, as well as in those absentee ballots that can come in before then.
CBN's Eric Phillips reporting in Atlanta on the prolonged campaign. Eric, thank you so much.
The economy is still reeling from the COVID-19 lockdown, and now there's a new push on Capitol Hill for another round of economic stimulus. Dale Hurd has that story.
With Congress set to adjourn in 2 weeks, time is running out to approve a second coronavirus stimulus package, and the pressure on lawmakers to compromise is on. Democrats have cut their demands for a whopping $2 trillion stimulus measure by more than half, in hopes of breaking a logjam and delivering much-sought economic aid as the current congressional session speeds to a close. The announcement is apparently aimed at Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, who so far has been unwilling to budge after his $550 billion Senate plan failed twice. This week, a bipartisan group of lawmakers told congressional leaders to get something done.
We're not blaming anybody for why they haven't come to an agreement. It wasn't enough, it was too much, whatever. We know what's necessary right now in a timely fashion.
I happen to be a deficit hawk. I don't like borrowing money. But the time to borrow money, maybe the only time to borrow money is when there's a crisis, and this is a crisis.
Treasury Secretary Mnuchin and Fed Chairman Powell have also urged Congress to pass another stimulus, with Powell warning that without more help, parts of the economy could be lost. But if the stimulus package is scaled down, that makes the chances for another $1,200 stimulus check for many Americans less likely. Meanwhile, the Supreme Court today ordered a lower federal court to re-examine California's coronavirus lockdown restrictions on indoor worship. While it kept the restrictions in place, it struck down a ruling against the Pasadena-based Harvest Rock Church and the 160 church Harvest International Ministry. Dale Hurd, CBN News.
All right, thank you, Dale. Well, joining us now is Mark Hamrick, Washington Bureau Chief and Senior Economic Analyst at Bankrate. Mark, it's always great to have you. Nearly a third of small businesses in New Jersey are closing their doors once again ahead of another expected potential spike in cases. How are stores, owners, and their employees who've already been battered expected to survive?
Well, I think the outlook is quite discouraging, John, because here we are 37 weeks into the economic downturn that's related to the pandemic. And I don't think many people had on their would-be bingo card this year that we'd be doing this long and the pandemic could still be raging out of control. And so there's an economic cost to that. We know there's light at the end of the tunnel. That is the availability of safe and effective vaccines. And Yes, some people will begin to get those soon, but what about the broader part of the population? So we're still making our way through that tunnel. And in the meantime, more people will lose their jobs, and the unemployment rate will not move substantially lower until we get to that stage.
The number of people looking for unemployment benefits dropped this week, but it is still historically high. Is the economy on the right track, Mark?
Well, that's a question that probably has more to do with the individual's own situation in a time when we really have sort of this Dickensian best of times, worst of times, have and have not economy. But when we have an unemployment rate that is basically twice the level that we saw earlier this year, I don't think anyone's going to be checking a box off and saying that this is the destination we want to be at. So no, when we have 1 million new jobless claims in a given week between the traditional programs administered by states and the pandemic unemployment assistance program, that's on par with the worst of what we saw during the Great Recession.
Mark, you alluded to this earlier in the segment. Federal officials have outlined a major rollout of COVID vaccines over the next several months. How would that potentially affect the economy?
I think eventually, John, we're going to have a strong economy in the United States. Think about the fact that everyone who has been avoiding certain activities over a period of time, they're going to want to get back to that level of activity. And so it's everything from more people getting on airplanes, more people venturing to live sports and entertainment venues, and even just shopping at some of the venues, brick and mortar destinations that they're avoiding now. We've seen this holiday shopping season brought forward, people doing their shopping earlier, but also shopping less frequently, obviously shopping more online. And we won't get back to the exact situation that we were before because a lot of things will have changed, some for the better, but we will make some progress. It's just a matter of time.
All right. Mark Hamrick with Bankrate.com. We always appreciate your insights. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
All right. Coming up, President Trump doubles down on his threat to veto a defense spending bill, why both Republicans and Democrats are criticizing the move, next on Faith Nation.
Introducing the CBN Bible from CBN.com. Now, an easier way to study the Bible and grow in your faith. Highlight your favorite verse. Read separate versions at a glance. Click and read a commentary, or cross-reference your favorite verse using the Strong's Concordance. All the right tools to study the Bible, all in one place. The CBN Bible, available at cbn.com/Bible or the iTunes App Store.
This is CBN News Watch.
Thanks for joining us.
Watch breaking news, exclusive stories and programs, credible news reporting.
We show you what's happening in the world and how you can pray about it.
This is CBN News Watch, because truth matters. Weekdays at 5 on the CBN News Channel.
Woohoo! Hi, Superbook fans. Here's something else you'll love. It's the new Superbook Bible app. It's packed with games, activities, and Superbook episodes that you can watch for free. Oh, no! There's trivia, a fun daily devotional, and answers to your Bible questions. Plus, an easy-to-understand Bible the whole family will enjoy. You can even create your own Superbook character. Ta-da! Whoa!
Millsburg Falls man, come.
Sorry, pardon me. Sorry, excuse me. Ouch!
Are you getting this?
Earn super points to win daily prizes, too. And so much more! Time to get back to my adventures. See you soon! It's the new Superbook Bible app. Free downloads on iTunes, Google Play, and Amazon.
President Trump is threatening to veto a must-pass defense spending bill with broad bipartisan support. That is, unless lawmakers clamp down on the big tech companies.
He's demanding Congress repeal what's known as Section 230, a part of the Federal Communications Code that protects social media companies. Trump insists their bias worked against him during the election. Now, he and his supporters say Section 230 shields Twitter, Facebook, and others from content liability. The president's demand, though, threatens to upend the massive bill which Congress has passed unfailingly for half a century.
His complaint is a battle cry of conservatives and some Democrats who say the social media giants treat them unfairly.
If he does it, I think most Americans are going to feel it's justified, because big tech is a monopoly, an oligopoly minimally, where there just are a handful that control such an important part of our economy.
Joining us now, David Brody, CBN chief political analyst. David, great to see you. Senator Braun acknowledges, or seems to at least, that any degree of fraud wouldn't change the outcome of the election. And still, he maintains the media failed the American people for being dismissive or refusing to investigate. Tell us about the point he's trying to make here.
Well, I think, Tara, his main point is about the media, that they have not done their due diligence on all of this. And that was really a big part of the scope of the interview, that he was very frustrated with the media. The Washington Examiner, where they published his op-ed, talked quite a bit about that. Now, as for the fraud itself, he says, look, we got a couple of weeks to go here, because I asked him about Bill Barr's comments as it relates to the fact that no widespread fraud has been found. And he told me, like I said, we've got a couple of weeks to go here. So to date, maybe nothing has been found specifically widespread-wise, but he thinks that, you never know. So we'll see. I mean, there's still a few more weeks.
David, overnight, the president posted a 46-minute-long speech on social media that claims fraud and irregularities related to mail-in voting. Does this help or hurt his legal and political cases that he's making?
Well, I don't think it helps either one, but it doesn't hurt. And here's why. Everybody knows where they stand at this point, right? I mean, we have a divided America, and this idea that a 46-minute Donald Trump speech is going to change anything. I mean, it's just not. I mean, look at the Washington Post headline today. Look at the New York Times. Even the Associated Press, all lambasting the speech. I mean, basically saying it was just ridiculous. It was over the top. It demeaned the office of the presidency. All of that. So you're not going to get any sort of positive upswing at all in the media, for sure. And his supporters love him. And that's not going to change. And so, no, I think this is Donald Trump's way, if you will, not to put him on the Dr. Phil couch or anything, but I think this is his way of kind of working himself through the process, making sure he's got to get his word out, got to talk to people about this, 46 minutes on the couch, if you will, to explain how this election he believes is rigged. And I think this is part of the process that he has to go through and his supporters are going through right now.
David, we're still waiting for the Georgia runoffs, of course, to determine who controls the Senate. Did he signal to you how willing he and other Republicans would be to work with a Biden administration?
It's interesting, Terry, you asked me that question. He didn't signal it either way, but you get the sense that Braun, is in this fight still on the election fraud issue. In other words, that's what he wanted to talk about. He put the op-ed out about election fraud. And if you go to Republicans publicly, they're going to continue to defend the president for the most part on this election fraud storyline, to let him have his say, let the legal process play out. They're not really even kind of considering too much publicly, that's the key word, publicly, anything about a Biden administration or a Biden transition. They want to wait, keep their powder dry on that. So it really wasn't a big part of the discussion. I think obviously that would turn to be something different after the holidays.
All right, David, very interesting interview. CBN Chief Political Analyst David Brody. David, thanks for your time.
Thanks, guys.
All right, coming up, a documentary that looks at another side of America, where communities are being changed through faith, family, and a message of hope.
When I came to Regent University, it's like the world opened up. I felt like I needed to advance my career and go back to school. Regent was a perfect fit for me. The Regent professors are world class. You are equipped. The focus of the faculty is on each individual student, whether it's online or in person. You become a part of Regent's family. You carry with you not just the content and the knowledge, but the confidence to understand that we can be significant in the world.
Regent University. Follow your path. Nigerian Christians
in Iran are routinely arrested.
Catholic Christians continue to suffer.
In times of trial and affliction, you need to know the truth.
One of the fastest growing Christian populations in the world.
Join Wendy Griffith and George Thomas for Christian World News.
Young people are the ones who are open to the gospel.
Powerful stories of suffering and hope that affect all Christians. Watch Christian World News, Saturday at 5 p.m.
Get Protect Your Sleep and discover how to improve the quality of your life. A free DVD or booklet from the Christian Broadcasting Network.
If you're not a great sleeper, you can do things to make yourself a great sleeper. If you're already a pretty good sleeper, you can enhance your sleep and be even better.
5 leading experts help remove the obstacles between you and restorative sleep.
When you don't get a restful night's sleep, you wake up with an accumulation of stress.
Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to CBN.com to get your free DVD or booklet today.
Everything you do better with a good night's sleep.
You'll discover how food affects your sleep, how to put insomnia to rest, explore effective remedies for sleep apnea, and much more in Protect Your Sleep. Wake up to your best life and get Protect Your Sleep today. Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to CBN.com to get your free DVD or booklet.
Well, welcome back. The pandemic isn't just a public health issue. It's expected to expand poverty abroad and here at home, with millions still out of work and businesses shuttering. A documentary called America Lost details the decline of 3 American cities pre-COVID. Produced by the Discovery Institute and the Heritage Foundation, it shows people committed to changing the cities where they live and work through faith, family, and community rather than riots, with true stories of people battling crime, economic decline, and the breakdown of traditional institutions.
Joining us now with more on the documentary is Chris Rufo with the Discovery Institute. Welcome to Faith Nation, Chris. You spent time in Youngstown, Ohio, Memphis, Tennessee, and Stockton, California, where you describe as forgotten cities. What did you discover?
Yeah, I discovered that the crisis, no matter who's in office, whether you have a Democrat or Republican in the Oval Office, many hundreds, if not thousands of cities and towns across the United States are struggling with intergenerational poverty, with the breakdown of families, with the tearing of the social fabric. And it's time that we spend some time thinking about these places, learning how they're coping, and trying to understand how they could revive themselves in the future.
Chris, real quickly, can you talk about how you came up with the project idea?
Yeah, I wanted to do a story that transcended geographic and racial lines. So we feature one working class white community in Youngstown, Ohio, in the old kind of Rust Belt North. We feature an African-American urban community in Memphis in the Deep South. And then we find characters that are Latino and multiracial in Stockton, California. And it really just goes to show that the great shredding of the social fabric affects people of all backgrounds. It's something that we can come together on, both to diagnose the problem and come up with solutions that work for everyone.
Chris, real quickly here, you put 5 years into this project, spending time with a felon, getting back on his feet, a woman whose childhood neighborhood descended into squalor, and others working to change the world by starting with themselves first. Briefly, what did you learn, and what can we learn from their stories?
You know, I didn't go out seeking this story, but one thing I found over and over and over in America's poorest neighborhoods, the faith community, those local churches are really the bedrock of the social order, the bedrock of people's lives, and also have the most successful programs, teaching people how to get back off their feet, bringing people in off the streets, helping people recover from drug abuse, uniting families. And these kind of often unsung heroes in the faith community are really on the ground, fighting the good fight, and should have all of our support.
How are faith and family doing in society today? Is America lost?
Yeah, I mean, it is. But, you know, one thing about being lost, you can always find your way again. And I think what you've seen since the 1950s is that the family, especially in the poorest communities and neighborhoods, has really fallen apart. And I think that it's, according to all the thousands of people I met in these cities, is really the thing that people feel is most acutely lost, and we need to really restore. So I think, I saw a lot of heartbreak in these places, but I also saw a lot of hope. I wouldn't count America down for the count at all. I think our best days are still ahead.
Chris, real quickly before we go, where can people find the film?
Sure. All of your viewers can actually watch the film in its entirety for free at americalostfilm.com/premiere. That's americalostfilm.com/premiere. You can watch the trailer, watch the whole film for free. I think it's really it's something important and something that sheds a lot of light on a story that is often never told.
All right, Chris Rufo, thank you for being with us and thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Well, a time-honored tradition of more than 50 years shining brightly tonight, we take you on Capitol Hill for its annual tree lighting ceremony.
Christians around the world are standing with the Israelis. But why? In CBN's free magazine, Friends of Israel, you'll discover why Christians are supporting the Jewish state, how Israel is fulfilling prophecy as a light to the nations, and ways you can pray for the people of Israel. Israel needs the support of friends like you. Call now or go to CBN.com to get your free copy of Friends of Israel.
Heavenly Father, we do thank you for the work of your Spirit, Lord God, with this movement of getting the Bible,
yes,
Lord, into public schools.
Watch The Prayer Link, Tuesday nights at 6:30.
Hey, if you're tired and exhausted all day, you can't think clearly, and you really just need a cup or even a pot of coffee to get through your day, then join me, Dr. Josh Axe, for this new series where I'm going to teach you how to transform your diet and use essential oils and supplements to get a better night's sleep.
Protect your sleep and live your best life with innovative information from 5 leading sleep experts.
If you're not a great sleeper, you can do things to make yourself a great sleeper. If you're already a pretty good sleeper, you can enhance your sleep and be even better.
Discover a sleep-enhancing bedtime routine, how to put insomnia to rest, learn how to relieve pain that disturbs sleep, and much more in Protect Your Sleep.
Everything you do better with a good night's sleep.
Wake up to your best life. Call 1-800-700-7000 to get your free DVD or booklet of Protect Your Sleep today.
Don't miss out on this brand new series.
Nutrition, exercise, essential oils, weight loss, and more. It's Healthy Living with Lori Johnson.
Talk about what's in this.
Join CBN health reporter Lori Johnson to get the latest information from today's top health experts.
This is fantastic.
Find out what you need to know to live a healthier life. Watch Healthy Living, Tuesday night at 9:30.
Well, finally tonight, all was calm last night and bright during the annual Capitol Christmas tree lighting ceremony.
Thousands tuned in to watch online as members of the Colorado congressional delegation lit the Colorado spruce to the tune of "Oh Christmas Tree." For more than 5 decades, the People's Tree has served as a symbol of peace and hope that unites the American people even during difficult times.
If you missed the ceremony, you can still see the People's Tree lit after nightfall every night through Christmas. Tara, do you guys have your tree up yet?
No, not yet. Johnny come lately.
Me as well.
Oh, golly. Well, that's going to do it for Faith Nation.
We hope to see you again right here tomorrow. Good night.